It starts with a lie most people still believe, a lie that's quietly keeping millions trapped in a cycle of stubborn fat gain, low energy, and frustration. You've been told it's the carbs, bread, rice, sugar. Cut them and the fat will melt away. But what if that's not the real story? What if the real problem is a hidden hormone silently controlling whether your body stores fat or burns it? And what if, even on a low carb or keto diet, this hormone is still working against you? Because the truth is, fat gain is not just about calories or carbs, it's about hormonal signals. And one hormone sits at the center of it all: cortisol, the stress hormone. And if you don't understand how cortisol works, you could be doing everything right, eating clean, cutting carbs, even fasting, and still gaining fat. You've been lied to about fat gain. And the truth is far more unsettling than anyone wants to admit. For years, you were told to fear carbs. Bread became the enemy. Rice became the problem. Sugar became the villain in a simple story that promised easy answers. Eat less of this, lose more of that. But what if your body never worked that way to begin with? What if the real reason you're gaining fat has nothing to do with a slice of bread and everything to do with a signal deep inside your body that you can't see, can't feel directly, but that controls everything? Because fat gain is not just about food, it's about communication. Every second of every day, your body is listening to chemical messages, hormones that decide whether you burn energy or store it, whether you feel energized or exhausted, whether your metabolism works for you or against you. And one of the most powerful of these signals is cortisol. Cortisol is often called the stress hormone, but that name doesn't even begin to capture what it really does. It is a master regulator, a survival switch, a chemical alarm system designed to keep you alive in moments of danger. Thousands of years ago, that system made perfect sense. When your ancestors faced a threat, a predator, starvation, harsh environments, cortisol surged to prepare the body for survival. It raised blood sugar to provide immediate energy. It sharpened focus. It temporarily shut down non-essential systems so you could fight or run. And once the danger passed, cortisol levels dropped back down, balance restored, but your body hasn't changed, your environment has. Today, the threats are different. They don't come with claws or teeth. They come with deadlines, notifications, financial pressure, poor sleep, emotional strain, and a constant sense of urgency that never truly switches off. And your body doesn't know the difference. It reacts to a stressful email the same way it would react to a life-threatening attack. Cortisol rises, but this time it doesn't fall. It stays elevated, hour after hour, day after day. And that's where everything begins to break. Because when cortisol stays high, it starts to rewire your metabolism in ways that almost guarantee fat gain. It begins with blood sugar. Cortisol's job is to make sure you have enough energy to survive, so it increases glucose production in the liver even if you haven't eaten anything. This is not a suggestion, it's a command. Your blood sugar rises, and when blood sugar rises, insulin follows. Insulin is the storage hormone. Its role is to take excess glucose out of your bloodstream and store it, primarily as fat. So now, even if your diet is low in carbs, even if you're doing everything right, your body is still being told to store fat, not because of what you ate, but because of what you felt. This is why so many people find themselves stuck in a frustrating reality where they eat less, exercise more, cut carbs, try fasting, and still see the scale go up because they're fighting the wrong battle. They're attacking food while ignoring the signal that controls how that food is used. And cortisol doesn't stop there. It goes deeper. It begins to break down muscle tissue to provide amino acids for energy production. Your body literally sacrifices muscle to keep up with the perceived demand for survival. And muscle is not just about strength or appearance, it's your metabolic engine. The more muscle you have, the more calories your body burns at rest. So when cortisol breaks down muscle, your metabolism slows down. Now you're burning less energy while storing more fat. A perfect storm. And then comes the next layer, the one most people feel but don't understand. Cravings. High cortisol alters the balance of hunger hormones. It increases ghrelin, the hormone that tells you you're hungry, and decreases leptin, the hormone that tells you you're full. So even when your body has enough energy stored, it convinces you that you need more. Not just any food, but quick, high energy, sugar-dense foods, because your brain is trying to solve a survival problem that doesn't actually exist. And this is not a lack of willpower, it's biology. You are being driven by a hormonal signal that overrides logic. And if that wasn't enough, cortisol also attacks your sleep. It disrupts your circadian rhythm, making it harder to fall asleep, harder to stay asleep, and harder to reach the deep, restorative stages your body desperately needs. And when sleep is compromised, cortisol rises even more the next day. Insulin sensitivity drops, cravings increase, energy crashes, and the cycle tightens. Stress creates cortisol. Cortisol creates fat storage. Fat storage creates frustration. Frustration creates more stress. And around it goes. Now here's the part that changes everything. Your body is not broken. It is responding exactly the way it was designed to respond. The problem is not that your body is failing you. The problem is that your body thinks you are in danger. And until that signal changes, nothing else will. You can cut carbs further. You can eat fewer calories. You can exercise harder. But if cortisol remains high, your body will continue to choose survival over fat loss. Every time, because survival always wins. This is why some people can eat more and stay lean, while others restrict everything and still struggle. It's not fairness, it's physiology, it's the hormonal environment that determines the outcome. And once you understand that, you stop blaming yourself. You stop chasing extremes, and you start asking a different question: how do I change the signal? Because when you change the signal, you change the result. When cortisol begins to come down, something remarkable happens. Blood sugar stabilizes without extreme restriction. Insulin levels normalize. The constant message to store fat begins to fade. Your body starts to feel safe again. And when your body feels safe, it becomes willing to burn fat. Energy returns, cravings quiet down, sleep improves, and fat loss stops feeling like a battle you're losing and starts becoming a process your body supports. But this shift doesn't come from punishment. It doesn't come from pushing harder or cutting more. It comes from understanding what your body actually needs. It needs stability. It needs recovery. It needs signals that tell it the threat is over. And that begins with small, powerful changes, nourishing your body with real food that doesn't spike blood sugar, prioritizing sleep like your health depends on it, because it does, creating moments in your day where stress is intentionally lowered, even if just for minutes, moving your body in ways that energize rather than exhaust. These are not weak strategies. They are biological interventions. They speak directly to the system that controls everything else. Because at the end of the day, fat gain is not a failure of discipline. It is a reflection of the environment inside your body. And cortisol is one of the loudest voices in that environment. Ignore it, and you will keep fighting an uphill battle. Understand it, and you unlock a completely different path. A path where your body is no longer working against you. A path where fat loss is not forced, but allowed. And that changes everything. There's a silent trap your body can fall into. And once it does, everything you thought you knew about fat loss starts to collapse. You eat less, but the weight doesn't move. You exercise more, but your body feels heavier, slower, more resistant. You cut carbs, skip meals, push harder, and somehow the results get worse. It feels like your body has turned against you, but it hasn't. It's adapting. And that adaptation is what scientists call a metabolic slowdown, a survival response driven by one powerful force: chronic stress and the hormone that carries its message, cortisol. At first, the changes are subtle, easy to ignore, easy to dismiss. A little more fatigue than usual, a little more hunger late at night, a little less motivation to move, but beneath the surface, something far more serious is happening. Your body is entering a state where it no longer trusts the environment around it. And when the body doesn't feel safe, it becomes efficient, dangerously efficient, because survival is not about burning energy. It's about conserving it. And cortisol is the switch that flips your body into that mode. When cortisol stays elevated for long periods, it sends a clear, urgent message. Energy is scarce, danger is constant, resources must be preserved. So your body responds by slowing your metabolism, not slightly, but significantly. Research has shown that chronic stress can reduce resting metabolic rate, meaning your body burns fewer calories even at rest. The same body that once burned energy freely now holds onto it tightly, as if preparing for a famine that never comes. And this is where the trap begins, because you don't see this slowdown happening. You just feel the consequences. You feel the exhaustion that no amount of sleep seems to fix. You feel the frustration of doing everything right and getting nowhere. You feel the confusion as your body becomes more resistant with every attempt to change it. So you respond the only way you know how. You cut more calories, you push harder in the gym, you fast longer. But to your body, this doesn't look like discipline. It looks like more stress, and cortisol rises even higher. And now the trap tightens, because cortisol doesn't just slow your metabolism, it begins to reshape your body composition. One of its most destructive effects is muscle breakdown. Under chronic stress, your body starts breaking down muscle tissue to release amino acids, which are then converted into glucose to fuel what it believes is a prolonged survival situation. This process is not optional. It is biological priority, and every pound of muscle you lose comes with a cost. Because muscle is metabolically active tissue, it burns calories even when you're not moving. So when muscle decreases, your daily energy expenditure drops. Now your body requires fewer calories to maintain its current weight, which means the same amount of food that once maintained your weight now causes gain. And the same calorie deficit that once worked now barely makes a difference. This is why people say, I used to lose weight so easily. Now nothing works, because their metabolism has adapted. But the damage doesn't stop with muscle. Cortisol also rewires your hunger. It disrupts the delicate balance between ghrelin and leptin, the hormones that regulate hunger and fullness. Ghrelin increases, making you feel hungrier more often. Leptin decreases, making it harder to feel satisfied even after eating. So now you're stuck in a body that is burning fewer calories while demanding more food, and not just any food. High cortisol specifically increases cravings for high sugar, high fat, energy-dense foods. Foods that provide quick relief, quick energy, and quick comfort, because your brain is trying to solve a stress problem using fuel. And again, this is not weakness. This is programming. You are wired to survive, not to diet. And then comes the layer that amplifies everything: sleep disruption. Cortisol and sleep exist in a delicate rhythm. Cortisol should be high in the morning to wake you up, and low at night to allow deep restorative sleep. But chronic stress flips this pattern. Cortisol stays elevated into the night, making it harder to fall asleep, harder to stay asleep, and harder to reach the deep stages where recovery happens. And when sleep quality drops, or cortisol rises even higher the next day. Studies show that even partial sleep deprivation can increase hunger, decrease insulin sensitivity, and impair decision-making around food. So now your body is more insulin resistant, meaning it requires more insulin to manage the same amount of glucose. And higher insulin means more fat storage. At the same time, your brain becomes more reactive to food cues, more impulsive, more driven toward instant gratification. So you crave more, you eat more, you store more, and the cycle feeds itself. Stress leads to poor sleep. Poor sleep leads to higher cortisol. Higher cortisol leads to fat storage and cravings. Cravings lead to overeating. Overeating leads to guilt and frustration. And that emotional stress drives cortisol even higher. This is the metabolic trap, and it is far more powerful than willpower because it operates below your conscious awareness. It changes your biology, your behavior, your perception all at once. And the most dangerous part? It convinces you that the solution is to try harder, to eat less, to move more, to push beyond your limits. But in reality, that approach is what keeps the trap alive, because every time you push harder without addressing the underlying stress, you reinforce the signal that your body is under threat, and your body responds by tightening control even further, slowing metabolism more, holding onto fat more aggressively, increasing hunger signals even louder, until eventually burnout sets in. You feel exhausted, defeated, stuck in a body that no longer responds the way it used to. But here's the truth that changes everything. Your body is not trying to sabotage you, it is trying to protect you. Every adaptation, every slowdown, every craving is part of a coordinated survival response designed to keep you alive in what it perceives as a hostile environment. And once you understand that, you stop fighting your body. You start listening to it. Because the way out of the trap is not through more force, it's through changing the signal. When you reduce chronic stress, cortisol begins to drop. And when cortisol drops, the entire system starts to reset. Muscle breakdown slows, allowing your body to rebuild its metabolic engine. Insulin sensitivity improves, making it easier for your body to use glucose for energy instead of storing it as fat. Hunger hormones begin to rebalance, reducing constant cravings and restoring natural satiety. Sleep improves, which further lowers cortisol and enhances recovery. And gradually, your metabolism begins to rise again, not overnight, but steadily, consistently, because your body no longer feels like it's under attack. It feels safe. And safety is the signal that allows fat loss to happen. Not restriction, not punishment, not extremes, safety. This is why sustainable fat loss doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing what your biology actually needs. It comes from creating an internal environment where your body is no longer in survival mode, where it can afford to let go of stored energy, where it can shift from conserving to burning. And that shift changes everything, because once you escape the metabolic trap, fat loss stops being a constant struggle and starts becoming a natural outcome of a body that finally feels at ease. You've tried harder than most people ever will. You've cut the carbs, skipped the meals, pushed through the workouts, ignored the cravings, fought the hunger, and still, the results haven't matched the effort. And at some point, a dangerous thought begins to creep in. Maybe this is just how your body is. Maybe fat loss isn't meant for you. But that thought is wrong, because the problem was never that you weren't trying hard enough. The problem is that you were trying to force a biological system that only responds to the right signals. And until those signals change, nothing else will, because your body is not a calculator, it's a communication system. Every cell, every organ, every process is responding to hormones that tell it what to do. Store fat or burn it, hold on or let go, conserve energy or release it. And when those signals are out of balance, effort becomes meaningless. This is why some people can follow the strictest diets and still struggle, while others seem to eat freely and stay lean. It's not luck. It's not genetics alone. It's hormonal alignment. And the most powerful shift you can make is not in your calories and not in your carbs, but in the signals your body receives every single day. Because when you fix the signals, fat loss stops being a fight. It becomes a response. It starts with something most people overlook, is stability. Your body is constantly scanning for patterns, consistency, predictability. When your eating is chaotic, when your sleep is irregular, when stress is constant, your body interprets that as instability, and instability triggers survival mode. So the first step is not restriction, it's rhythm, regular meals built around real nutrient-dense foods, protein that supports muscle repair and satiety, healthy fats that provide steady energy without spiking insulin, vegetables rich in fiber, vitamins, and minerals that calm inflammation and support metabolic health. This isn't about eating less. It's about eating in a way that sends a clear message. Resources are available, the environment is safe, and when your body receives that message consistently, it begins to relax. Blood sugar stabilizes, insulin spikes become less frequent, energy levels become more steady, and slowly, the signal to store fat begins to weaken. But food is only part of the equation because one of the most powerful regulators of your hormones happens when you're not eating at all, when you're asleep. Sleep is not just rest, it is repair, it is regulation. It is where your body resets the very hormones that control fat loss. During deep sleep, cortisol drops to its lowest levels. Growth hormone rises, supporting fat burning and muscle preservation. Insulin sensitivity improves, allowing your body to use glucose more efficiently the next day. But when sleep is short, or fragmented, or inconsistent, all of that breaks. Cortisol stays elevated, hunger hormones become dysregulated, cravings increase, and your body wakes up already in a state of stress. This is why even one night of poor sleep has been shown to increase hunger, reduce satiety, and impair glucose metabolism the next day. Not because you lack discipline, but because your biology has been disrupted. So protecting your sleep is not optional. It is foundational. Going to bed at the same time each night. Reducing artificial light before sleep. Creating an environment that is cool, dark, and quiet. These are not small habits. They are signals that tell your body it is safe to shut down, to repair, to restore balance. And when sleep improves, everything else becomes easier. Cravings diminish, energy returns, decisions become clearer, and fat loss begins to feel possible again. But even with perfect food and perfect sleep, there is one factor that can override everything else: stress. Not just the big, obvious stress, but the constant, low-level tension that never seems to leave, the thoughts that keep racing, the pressure that never turns off, the feeling that you're always behind, always pushing, always trying to catch up. Your body doesn't measure stress in categories. It measures it in intensity and duration, and chronic stress keeps cortisol elevated, which keeps your body in survival mode. So managing stress is not a luxury. It is a biological necessity. And the solution is not to eliminate stress because that's impossible. The solution is to create moments where your body can exit that state, moments where the signal shifts from danger to safety. And these moments don't have to be extreme. They can be simple, intentional, consistent. Stepping outside into sunlight, allowing your body to reconnect with a natural rhythm, walking without distraction, letting your mind slow down, deep, controlled breathing that signals your nervous system to relax, even a few minutes of stillness, of silence, of presence. These are not passive actions. They are active signals that lower cortisol, calm the nervous system, and restore balance. And when practiced consistently, they begin to change the baseline of your biology. Your body spends less time in stress and more time in recovery. And that shift is where fat loss begins. But there's another layer most people miss, something that quietly influences everything from stress to sleep to metabolism: minerals, electrolytes, the microscopic elements your body depends on to function properly: magnesium, potassium, sodium. These are not just nutrients, they are regulators. Magnesium in particular plays a critical role in calming the nervous system, improving sleep quality, and reducing cortisol levels. Yet studies suggest that a large percentage of people are deficient. And when magnesium is low, stress feels higher, sleep becomes more difficult, and recovery is impaired. Potassium supports muscle function and cellular balance. Sodium helps regulate fluid levels and nerve signaling. When these are out of balance, your body feels it. Fatigue increases, cravings intensify, performance drops. So, restoring these minerals through whole foods, leafy greens, avocados, nuts, seeds, quality salts, or targeted supplementation can have a profound impact. Not overnight, but steadily. Because again, you are changing the signal. You are telling your body that it has what it needs, that it is supported, that it can let go. And then there's the tool many people turn to in hopes of accelerating fat loss: fasting. Fasting can be powerful, but only when used in the right context. Because fasting is a stress, a controlled stress, but a stress nonetheless. And if your body is already overwhelmed, already high in cortisol, already struggling to feel safe, adding more stress can backfire. Long fasts in a stressed body can increase cortisol further, slow metabolism, and deepen the very problem you're trying to solve. So the key is not to avoid fasting, but to respect it, to use it strategically, gently, in alignment with your body's current state. Shorter fasting windows, gradual adaptation, listening to your energy, your sleep, your recovery, because fat loss is not about how much stress you can topple, it's about how well your body can adapt. And adaptation requires balance. This is the shift most people never make. They keep looking for the next restriction, the next rule, the next extreme. But real transformation doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing what your body actually needs. And when you meet those needs consistently, something incredible happens. Your body begins to trust the environment again. Cortisol levels start to drop. Insulin sensitivity improves. Fat storage signals weaken. Fat burning pathways activate. And the struggle, the constant resistance begins to fade. You're no longer forcing fat loss. You're allowing it because your body is finally working with you, not against you. And that's the moment everything changes. Not just your weight, but your energy, your clarity, your relationship with food, your confidence in your own body, because you realize something powerful. You were never broken. You were just missing the right signals. And now that you understand them, now that you can control them, you don't have to fight anymore. You can finally move forward with your biology on your side.